I got back and I started training. I'm training really hard. I broke the record in the start of the year, and when I did it, I went, "Uh oh!"
Too soon, maybe.
I just woke up Dorian.
Hello, hello, and welcome back or welcome to the Water Ski Podcast. This is Matteo Luzzeri, your host, and the goal of this podcast is to promote water skiing. We've been doing it for 75 episodes, with this one included, and we don't plan to stop. That's the idea. And I say we because a lot of the episodes, almost all of them, are with someone else. And I can't say thank you enough to the people that decide to share a few hours with me, chatting up about themselves and the sport. Rest assured, this is not taken for granted. And certainly in that category fits this episode, which is part 2 of my interview with Joel Poland. In this second part, we go a little bit deeper into recent years, starting with a humongous success that Joel had 2 years ago at the Under-21 World Championships, where he almost broke the world overall record open, and the ascendance that he had in water skiing since then. So we obviously spent a good amount of time talking about the lead up to this year's World Championships, where he won overall and broke the world overall record at the Worlds. And then we speak about a few other things related to skiing, such as, his social media influence, what he thinks kids nowadays should do, a little bit of advice for parents, and a bit of chatter about the sport in general. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to read a couple of adverts now. Please don't skip. These people are helping this podcast that I hope you love stay alive. So check them out. Look at the episode notes so that you can reach out to these sponsors and check them out. So this episode of the Water Ski Podcast is brought to you by Real Frequency College Consulting. If you're a collegiate-bound student or a parent of one, this is an exciting and stressful time. It's common to become overwhelmed with the admission process, college research, deadlines, essays, and picking the perfect college ski club culture. If there is something you want to do, which we highly encourage it, because let's face it, they're all pretty awesome, all the schools that have water skiing. Are you and your student making the best decisions based on your strengths to increase success and mitigate risk? Real Frequency College Consulting is with you every step of the way. Real Frequency offers strength and purpose-driven narrative for the edge you'll need to get through your hardest life path yet. Comprehensive college reports on over 6,400 institutions and extensive info for NCWSA affiliated schools. And let me say, those international students that listen to this, they certainly can appreciate a bit of guidance on how school in the US works to begin with and what is required to get accepted there. You also get a financial planning from a college economic specialist, access to your very own admission essay specialist, and a bunch of other services. This process can feel like running your hardest path, but it does not have to. Let Real Frequency take on the stress of admissions so you can enjoy the course and learn so much about yourself in the process. So go to realfrequency.com, that's REAL frequency.com, or text RFTWSP to 509-759-2317 to schedule your free consultation. Real Frequency. The stress isn't worth it, but a college consultant is. You can also mention TWSP or Matteo is the man and receive 6% off, like the 6 buoys, for your 9 or 12 months benefit. So again, realfrequency.com or text RFTWSP at 509-759-2317. This episode of the Waterski Podcast is also brought to you by the Flowpoint Method. Flowpoint Method is an online waterski training program developed by Jenny LeBeau and Marcus Brown. Marcus being one of the multiple times guests on the Waterski Podcast. And Jenny and Marcus leverage on years of experience and competency to give you a truly holistic approach to water skiing, covering technique, fitness, nutrition, and mindset. And I should mention that one of the many perks of the members of the Flowpoint Method is also a bi-weekly members-only Zoom meeting with Jenny and Marcus, where they address a few specific topics about the period that is being covered. And obviously, it's a good opportunity to ask questions to your coaches. For the Northern Hemisphere members, the first week of off-season started last week. So this means hitting the gym and working hard to prepare for a great 2022 season. Speaking of gym, what I truly love about the program is the extensive library of instructional videos showing proper technique and execution, which, I mean, I feel so much less competent at the gym than I feel on the water. So being guided through heavy exercise and being able to watch videos of how to perform them properly, it's obviously a good help. From amateur skier to seasoned pro, the Flowpoint Method provides structure and guidance for anyone who is truly committed to take their skiing to the next level. So you can become a member of the Flowpoint Method by going to thewaterskipodcast.com/flowpointmethod, one word. And through that link, you can also get access to a free trial. Or there's also a link in the show notes for you to access. So again, thewaterskipodcast.com/flowpointmethod, one word. All right, so here we are. Let's jump back into this interview with Joel. This was an awesome second part. Now, not really to spoil or anything, but there might be a third part later down the year or maybe beginning of next year. Who knows? But for now, enjoy this second part with Joel. All right, Joel, we're back from a little break. I guess the first question I have is, because obviously Matt Rini is a huge part of, your current success and your skiing. When did it start become more than just where you were going for winters for some winter training? When did it become more consistent coaching?
It was winter training, but I don't think it was ever just to go ski somewhere in winter. It was that first year I skied with him. I went and skied with him not because it was warm or anything like that. I went and skied with him because my first trip I gained like a pass, a few meters, and like 4 flips. Like okay. when I went there, I could do 1 flip, and when I left, I could do 4.
Yeah.
So that's why I went. That's why I was going there so much. I mean, straight away off the bat, it was let's go there as much as I possibly can. I think I missed 50 days of school one year. I missed a lot of school, which my school was actually pretty good about it. Like they were pretty calm. Bearing in mind my school, they didn't like me too much. I don't think I was a bit of a troublemaker. Okay. I didn't like rules and authority, so I think they were kind of happy with me not being there, disrupting everyone. So they were like, "Okay, you want to go? Just do the homework. That's fine." And pretty much did all the homework the day I had to go back to school.
Right, classic.
Which, not the best, but it worked out in the end.
Very British also to be a sort of like a anti-establishment high school student, no?
Yeah, it's a bit of a British thing, isn't it? I know Freddie's kind of like that too.
Yeah.
But he's an academic.
Well, yeah, of some sort.
Of some sort. He went to 2 universities.
Yeah, I guess that's right. So basically it was a gradual thing. Like, so slowly but surely you realized that every time you went to Matt's, you were coming back with, more tricks, more buoys, better positions, better techniques. Just
got better and better and better. I'd go to Matt's. He would teach me 10 new tricks. I'd go back with John, learn those 10 tricks until I could do them properly, and then go back out and he'd teach me another bunch of tricks. And that was a really good system I had going, really.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay. And so when did you sort of, because you're now majority of the year you're stateside.
yeah,
When
that's
did that
home.
start?
I think this is the first time. This year is the first year I've been there. Like I could really call it home. Before it
Mm-hmm.
was like I'm visiting. I could get kicked out. I got a visa this year. I can actually live there. I think about 2 years ago was when it started. I was there a lot more. I
Yeah.
finished school. I was doing a lot of traveling. I went to Australia for like 6 months of the year. I did that a few times actually, but I would spend at least 3 or 4 months a year. Last year I was there for about 7 months, and
Mm-hmm.
this year I was there for oh, yeah, about 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
So a lot of
So
time.
now that's home. Yeah,
That's
that's
home. That's
home.
where I ski. I mean, we got the best setup in the world, really. We got Matt,
Yep.
and we've got a guy that works for him, Cole, as well. You know Cole.
Of course.
You've done a podcast with him, and between the two of them and everyone at the ski school, it's like it. I honestly believe it is the best place in the world to become a professional water skier.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't imagine a better setup, really.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, those are two high level coaches.
Mhm.
Of different age, so they can relate differently to different skiers. No, no,
Yeah.
I think your training is sort of sorted, you know.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's showing, I think.
yeah, I think it's showing. Now, I obviously we're gonna get to talk about the World Championships, the Open World Championships
Yeah.
of this year, but and this is completely personal and not just personal. The first time I really took notice of you was at an under 21 World Championships in Echelon Park.
Yeah.
That was just mad. you know, can you tell the story of those worlds? Because I mean, domination was pretty much the right adjective there.
I still get chills when I think about that world. That world started for me at LCQ for Masters.
Okay.
So the LCQ, I wanted to qualify for at least one event. Slalom, trick, jump, I didn't care. I wasn't expecting slalom, but I wanted to qualify in at least trick or jump. And I didn't. It was the year
Yep.
Danny jumped huge, like 227 or 228.
On a
And
5.5 foot ramp.
yeah,
Yeah, I
like he
remember.
jumped huge and I didn't make it. And actually, like Danny kind of pissed me off because he
Okay.
did that, and then that night we're at Top Golf, and I swing the club as hard as I can, and I completely duff the ball. It goes like flying right, and he comes over and he goes, "You got to go easy. It's just like jump. Like if you try go hard, you're never gonna go as far as me." And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, oh."
Ah, you.
Like this guy, and I went down to watch Masters, and he didn't show up. He only tricked, and that annoyed me even more. I was so mad about that
Oh.
because he
Was
didn't
it
jump.
because of the 6 foot ramp rule at
You had, yeah.
Masters?
For Masters, you had to be at 6 foot, and he didn't show up, and it just boiled my blood. And then I think to win trick, it was like 11-2 or 11-3,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting there going like, I could have done that. Like my runs add up to that. I could have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm all annoyed about that. So I didn't even watch the finals of jump. I just got in my car, I drove home, I went to the lake the next day, and I didn't take a day off until Worlds. It's like 3 months, just every
So I
every
guess
day.
I guess that's kind of like a easy question to ask. Why'd you go to Masters?
To watch, to punish myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I wanted to go. I was gonna go anyway. Some of my friends were gonna be there, so I wanted to watch. I mean, I'm in America. I hadn't been for years. I went to one as a junior. I missed out my second one because I broke my shoulder as a kid.
Ah.
And
Okay.
yeah, so I was like, I want to go. I want to watch it. I want to see everyone ski. And it was the worst and the best decision I made ever. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a big turning point for me.
Right.
'Cause after
And
that, I was
so
like,
that
I'm going to the next one.
and so that led to just like what is it? 3 months, 2-3 months of just like non-stop training.
Yeah, 3 months. I didn't take a single day off.
Mm-hmm.
not one. The only time I took a day off was the day I flew down, but I skied the day before I left. I flew down, and then I practiced every day for like 2-3 days. And I skied the tournament, and yeah, I was pretty motivated to win that one.
Yeah, and I mean, tell us the scores, tell us the events. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you were very close to the world overall record open, like not under 21, because this was an under 21 world championships.
Yeah,
you were close to the world overall record as an under 21 at the worlds.
Yeah. So I think round 1, I went out, I tricked 10-5. I got 1 at 10-2, at 41, and I jumped like 60 meters. So it was a pretty
good start.
It was a pretty like good start to the tournament. Like I think that was enough to win overall. In my head, it wasn't. I only went there with the aim to win overall, so the rest was a bonus. And in the finals, we go out. I think it started with trick. I tricked 11,000 points, and that was a PB for me. I'm pretty excited about it. Like, first time I tricked 11, but I actually lost my last turn line back-to-back. It was in time, but I fell. And if I'd got that trick, I would have broken the record.
Oh, you would have broken the world overall record if that... Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't know that at the time. That was just, I went out and I tricked. And then later that day, we had jump, and I went out and jumped, and I think I won on the first jump. Could have been the second. I think it was the first jump I went out. Yeah, it was. First jump, one and done. I went out to jump, it was like 63, and I went like 65-7. I went crazy. I threw my helmet up in the air. I was the last guy off the dock because there was only 2 of us at 6 foot, and I beat the other guy, Carlo Basic. He went at 6 foot.
Yeah.
So I was the last guy out, and that was huge because I won jump. Like, I'm a world champion, and I've still got 2 events left essentially. Like, I've still got slalom. And in my head, I'm thinking somebody can beat me in overall. I don't know at this point. And then that night, like, it's pretty restless, but I managed to get some sleep, and we come to the lake for slalom finals. And I remember saying, I'm talking to Matt and Cole, and they're kind of like talking me through it. And I remember saying to Cole, I was like, it's going to happen. Like, it's on. I'm going to do this. And I wasn't thinking about the record. I was just thinking about winning slalom. And I knew I had to run 39. Like, I had to run 10-7. And I went out. I got the sketchiest 4-ball. I barely turned 5-ball, but I got round 6. And, like, I know at that point, like, if I'm going to lose, like, at least I did everything I could, because I'm not expecting to get anything more than 1. And we come back on 41. I get a pretty bad gate. I just about get round 1, and I'm in a shit. Oh, can I say shit?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
All right. And I came flying into 2, terrible position, and like, I still believe I went round it, but the judges don't.
Okay.
And I got 1, but even if I got 2, I think I had to get 2.5. And everyone always says he was like 1.5 boys off. But I was only 1 trick off, and that bugs me more.
For the record, you mean?
For the world record. Yeah.
So was that, I guess, because on one hand you said you still thought it wasn't enough for overall, but on the other hand, it sounds like you guys were aware, you and your group, that the world overall record was in the talks, like you were close.
Well, after I jumped, I didn't know. After I jumped, I'm just going crazy, like I've just won worlds, and I'm thinking I've still got slalom and overall tomorrow. And when I came in, I talked to Cole about it that night, and he kind of was like, I think you're good. Like, you can pretty much just go out and slalom however you like tomorrow, and you're good. Right. And that was really big, coming into slalom, knowing that, like, I can just go out and slalom. Like, I don't I don't have to run 39 to win overall. I can just ski. Had to run 39 to win, but that was different. Didn't need double the pressure.
So did you win slalom also?
Yep, I won slalom, I won jump, I won overall, came second in trick, and we won the team overall as well. We won the gold.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a real big deal for us.
So you,
Rob, I think Aaron Davies was there that year. Ben Turp, and Sancho
Hmm.
Outram.
Solid team.
Pretty good team. I
Solid
mean,
team.
I think every team me and Rob have been on together, we were talking about this. Every team we've been on, we've made a team podium.
Well, I mean, the two of you together, it's already pretty solid, you
Yeah,
know?
we're a pretty good match.
Yeah. Wow. What? Okay, so under 21 Worlds is over. This is 2019, right? That's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Take a flight to go, I guess, to the US or back to England. What's going on through your head?
Well, that was the same year as Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
I had Malaysia later that year, and I've just almost broken the world record, and my head's just gone. It's massive.
Right, right.
So I've convinced myself that I'm gonna win overall in Malaysia, just because I've
Mm-hmm.
skied well at under 21s, and that was not the case. I came third.
Third in overall.
I came third in overall, which was, I look back on it, that was amazing because it was my first ever Open Worlds. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, screw that. I want to win. Like this is taking me back to kind of like winning under 17s or
Mm-hmm.
coming third in under 17s at Worlds and then not winning Europeans kind of thing.
Right,
Like
right,
I
right, right,
skied
right.
really well in one tournament, got excited, went easy, and then the next tournament, so it kind of brought me back to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, didn't ski great. I jumped good. I came third in jump. I came third in overall. So its first Worlds it was
Solid, man.
incredible, but I wasn't convinced it
Solid.
was. So
Solid. Who was ahead of you in overall in Malaysia? I think Martin won.
Martin won, Sledge came second.
Ooh, like right
Yeah,
behind like
yeah,
some pillars of overall.
yeah. I mean, Sledge is he was my icon growing up. Actually, I've got a
Mm-hmm.
funny little backstory about Sledge, and
Go on.
I wonder if he'll remember this because I've never spoke to him about it. But we're at
I'm all
a
ears.
we're at a pro jump tournament. I think it was the Stokes, and he was there, and I had a broken shoulder, so I'm just like doing the
Watching.
lines on the dock,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a good skier at this point in my head. Like I'm
Right.
coming into my. This was after Worlds. I've already won under 17 Worlds in
Mm-hmm.
overall.
Okay.
So I think I'm top shit, which I wasn't. And he called me kid. He was like, "Hey kid, can you pass that soap?" And I don't know why, but it really cut me deep. Cut me really, really, really deep. And bearing in mind, like this guy, he's been like my icon growing up. I mean, he's the first person I ever had seen do a Mob 5 in a tournament. He's making podiums in every event. Like, I think this
Yeah.
guy's insane, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he called me kid, and I was upset by it. Like, put a little target on his back. And in coming into Malaysia, I mean, Coleman was definitely a contender, and I definitely underestimated him that tournament because I had my eyes focused on beating Sledge, and I didn't beat Sledge, and I think that's what hurt more than anything is
Mm-hmm.
how badly I wanted to beat him, and I didn't, and that was again fuel. It was all fuel.
So fuel. Yeah, and what I mean, obviously that made you, start to go, okay, I want to beat this guy. Um, but was it just like, I don't know how to say, like competitive rage? But were you still able to see, man, this is a great skier, but I'm gonna just go chase him and beat him? Or was it just like, I'm just gonna beat him and screw this guy? I was wrong. He's not my idol. What
Oh
was the
no,
reaction?
he's still an idol.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he was my idol. This is the guy to beat. Like you want to be the best, and I wanted to be the best. You got to beat the best. Like I
yeah.
had to beat Sledge, and I had to do it at Worlds. It didn't matter if it was at Europeans or like a normal tournament. Like I had to beat him, and I had to beat him at Worlds. I had to
Hmm.
beat him, to
Yeah,
be to overtake
to-
him.
yeah, yeah. And
And
at the
I
time,
like,
he still had the overall world record,
yeah, he
right?
had the overall world record. Like, and that was another thing. Like I had to get that record too, but I knew I was close. I knew that was
Hmm.
coming. But you only get one shot every 2 years at Worlds. A record you can do any time of the year if you find the right tournament, the right site.
Right.
So that was, I've still got just so much respect for him. I mean, he set the path for me. kind of made that path where you can be good at every event. And I think it must have been really hard for him being the first one to not have a weakness.
Yeah.
I mean, he really didn't have a weakness. He just had 3 good strengths.
See, to me, I don't know how big of a passion, like how big of a passion for history you have in water skiing, but to me, like him and Pipe were the first overall skiers that got away from you gotta be a great trick and jump skier to be an overall skier. Like they showed that you can still slalom great and do the other 2 great, and that's what's gonna make you a great overall skier. Whereas before him, it was really, Jarrett, Jimmy, like if your trick and jumps are solid, that's how you become an overall skier.
I think before Sledge, like especially Sledge, for me, it was you're a really good jumper or you're a really good tricker. You're pretty good in the other event. Like you should make podiums, and I mean, well, Jimmy and Jarrett both broke records in both those events, but the third event didn't really matter. Just had to kind of keep up. You could just be really good at 2 events. And if you go kind of even further back before them, it was kind of more like you only had to be good at 1 event, and then you had to be pretty good at the other 2 events.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't be bad at 1 event. And in my head, like if you went on podiums in every event, you weren't good at every event. You were just good at 2 events or 1 event. And Sledge wrote that out for me and made that really clear. And yeah, like that directed my focus into every event had to be good. I couldn't get away with a weak event because you wouldn't win. You had to be strong in every event. You had to attack the weakness.
Yeah. And to me, what's even crazier, it's that the one event which, as I said, generally was kind of like the weak event for the others was slalom.
Yeah.
And slalom, arguably, is the most competitive event of them all. Like, it's the one with the most skiers. Like, you talk to someone that water ski generally does slalom. Like, it's the one with the biggest numbers, and yet overall skiers started to break into that.
Yeah.
And they sort of needed to break into that to be competitive in overall.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, in terms of financially as well, if you want to make money in skiing, if you want to be the best tricker in the world, you're not going to make too much. If you want to be the best jumper in the world, you can probably do okay. If you want to be the best slallomer in the world, you can make some money, but you've got to be the best slallomer in the world.
Yep.
Now, if you're making finals in slalom, you're making a bit of money. I mean, now as well, especially with like Pro Water Ski Tour, we're getting more and more tournaments. You're actually going to make a bit of money if you're making finals.
Yeah.
I think it's become really important. If you want to sustain being a pro skier, you need to be good at slalom. Like, if you're really good at jump, like Freddie Krueger and Ryan Dodd, and you're going to win the events and you're going to podium at every one, you can make some money. But most of those events have slalom as well. So if you can make a bit of money to kind of pay your entry and everything, some of your costs, then all that money from jump just kind of goes straight into the savings and keeps you going for a few more months.
Right.
And I think, I'm not sure if that was in their mindset as well, but I'm sure that Sledge has probably thought about that as well.
I'm sure that was in the back of his mind, all accounts I've heard from people in the Czech Republic about Sledge was that he was like just so talented in all 3. So probably it's also kind of came through, like continued to work on all 3, and all 3 were improving. But I find it very interesting how, people like, obviously I'm thinking Pipe, I'm thinking Javi and Sledge sort of started that. And then through came the others. And then obviously you and Dorian now are probably the outmost example of that.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the Worlds. I think it's time. Okay. So we got Worlds. So you skied Malaysia. First Worlds ever. You get 2 bronze medals. Not good enough. But, it's Malaysia. It's not the best place to ski at all. Probably the worst place to ski ever. And then you sort of know, maybe not right after, but sometime after, that the following Worlds are going to be in the US, in Florida, in a nice place, good conditions, among the best conditions in the world, really. What was your mindset this year? Like, this year is a World's year, which obviously is a big year for a water skier. How was the year leading up to Worlds?
Coming into the year, at the end of last year, Dorian broke the world record.
Right.
It didn't get approved, but that was like no fault of his own. He did those scores. He had enough to break that record, and that was like, it's not okay with me. Especially after Malaysia and getting that close to under 21s, like, that was not okay with me. So I hit the gym, and I was going to the gym twice a day, every day in the winter. And then I went to Mexico to start skiing in the beginning of the year. It was kind of hard to get to America, so I was just skiing and getting back into it, slowly working on trick more so than slalom and jump. And then I went to Chile, and I skied with the Gonzalez and the Nassas, and they have an amazing lake. They've got a gym in their house. They've got a swimming pool. So when I went there, I was like, okay, I can really start working here. Like, I'm already in good ski shape. Now I can ski and keep getting in shape. And I put a lot of time in the gym and in the pool when I was running around the lake every day. And I went out. I really, really worked on trick. I learned that new backflip 540 over the line.
Yep.
And that was all just preparation to get back to mats, because my only goal, like the only thing I cared about, was win the Worlds. Like, overall jump, trick, slalom, whatever kind of records, whatever tournaments, none of them mattered. The only thing I cared about was I had to win overall. And I knew I had to beat Dorian. Like, I knew it's going to be me and him, and it's going to be so tight. It's not going to be easy. I got back, and I started training. I'm training really hard. I broke the record in the start of the year. And when I did it, I went, uh-oh.
Too soon, maybe?
I just woke up Dorian.
Okay.
I just woke him up.
So that was at Kyle's, right?
That was Kyle's. Yeah, it was the first tournament of the year, fluid. And yeah, like, pretty good tournament. I can't remember the exact scores, but I think it was like a 225. Or maybe there's like 225, 11,500 or 300. And I think it was 11.5, and I think I only got 4.5 at 39. So it's a pretty good score, but like, it was down.
But sorry, Joel, just give a sense to our listeners, because just to give you an idea, like, a lot of the listeners of the Water Ski Podcast don't compete in water skiing. They maybe slalom a bit, even less they know about how a overall world record works. So these have to be in the same round.
Yeah, you've got, so it's a 2-round tournament. So I've got 2 attempts basically to break the tournament, but you can only break the record in 1 round. So the first round of slalom, trick, and jump, the scores combined add up to a certain amount of points out of 3,000. And let's say jump, if you go 225 feet, you get like 897 points out of 1,000.
1,000 being the world record of that event.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure of it myself, honestly. I just play by the rules and let them sort them out.
Right. But I guess it's a good teaching moment, because obviously at the World Championships or European Championships, there's the 1,000-point rule, which is the highest score of that event by someone that does overall.
Yeah.
Right?
So the difference, I guess, for a record versus the Worlds or an event, in the event, it will be the highest score out of any overall skier. So if I go out and I get the highest jump score, I get 1,000 points.
Yep.
And let's say the score was 70 meters, that's 1,000 points. If you were to go 60 meters, you would get however many points. I think it would be around like 800. And that's kind of how it figures itself out. Whereas for a world record, it goes off the world records for every single event. It's not against overall skiers. It's about the pros in their single events.
Yep.
Which makes it a little bit harder in some ways.
Right.
It's all strategy. It's fun.
Now, Okay, so you start the season. I mean, I was following you on social media a little bit. Like you were Mexico, Chile. I know you went to Mario's at a certain point in the DR. Like you were traveling a little bit,
Hmm.
trying to find the groove. First tournament of the year, world record.
Yeah,
And so your thought was, man, now Dorian is just getting noticed and he's gonna wake up,
he's coming for me basically, and
right?
he did. I think we had the first LCQ, and he jumped, or I think he tricked enough, and he slammed enough, but he didn't jump enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to the next one, and we both qualified. He qualified trick, I qualified jump. Then the next
The
event,
first one.
yeah. Then the next event, he got really close. Like he just had to stand up his trick run. I think he had to trick like 11-2, and he broke the record. And he messed up just at the end, and he tricked like 10-9, 10-8, and he was just like devastated. Like,
Close.
and I felt so bad for the guy at the time because I can see he was so close, and that was his opportunity, and he knew it, and he just like human error had a small little mess up, and it's just like in a blink of an eye, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew as soon as he did that. I mean, before that, I knew he was coming for me, but I knew as soon as he did that, it's just like a matter of time. He's just got to wait for the right tournament, and he'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. I mean, I think it was at Fluid as well. About
Ooh.
a month before Worlds, which honestly, that was like, I think he knows as well. He messed up doing that a month before Worlds because it fueled me. It made me just go, all right, took my record. I'm taking this back at the Worlds. Because until then, it was like I just wanted to win Worlds. He did that. My next tournament's Worlds. It's my
Yeah.
last overall tournament of the year. It's like, okay, I'm taking it back there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was that last month before Worlds was the. I stay pretty calm before tournaments, but that was the most emotional roller coaster I've ever been on in my life. It's up
What do you
and
mean?
down, and
Just every set, the reaction to that
every set
set.
took on so much importance to me that if I
Right.
didn't break a world record every single day, I failed.
Okay.
Like if I messed up one thing, I failed. Like if I didn't do it in the first set off the dock, like I would go do 5 jumps, but if I didn't do it, if the first 3 weren't huge and the last 2 were, I failed.
Bad set. Yeah.
Is like, and there was so much stress in it. And in hindsight, I look back, I probably was maybe too hard on myself, and that affected more so my slalom than anything. Because coming into that, I've been slaloming really well.
Mm-hmm.
And slalom, like if I didn't get 4 at 10-2, I was so mad.
Wow.
So you failed, and I didn't have to get. I just had to run 10-7.
Right. Right.
That was like that was the goal. But if I didn't get 4, I was pretty mad at myself. And yeah, just was a bit up and down, but I got a really good support crew. It was actually Taryn Grant, Cole's sister. We were
Yep.
sitting on the couch one day, and she was talking to me, and like I was just like I couldn't even hear anything she was saying. It was just going straight through me because I'm just like so focused on what I'm like on Worlds, and it's 3 weeks out.
Right.
And I said to her, I'm like, I'm so sorry, but like I can't hear anything you're saying right now. I'm so out of it. She's
Right.
like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like the last 3 days, I feel like I've not even noticed anyone else's existence. It's just been like ski, ski, ski.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm so out of it. And we sat on the couch for like an hour, and we just talked things out. And she was stressing out as well about jump. And we were both just like, hey, it's gonna be okay. She probably did a better job than I did. I think she talked me
Right.
down more than I talked her down.
Right. You're gonna be
Um,
fine, Taryn. Don't
yeah,
worry.
it's like, but yeah, like we both had a pretty good chat, and I think we calmed each other down a bit more. She really calmed me down because I was freaking out, and then after that, everything was good. Like I was like, nah, we've got this. You've trained all your life for this moment. You've got
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm. And how far out from the worlds was this chat?
About 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a healthy
Because
amount of time.
I gotta say, yeah, exactly. I gotta say that what surprised me the most, because you broke the world overall record in the prelims of the worlds,
Yeah,
right? So again, just to a bit of education here, at the worlds, you can improve your overall in the finals, but in terms of beating a world overall record, it still has to be in the same round. So either all in the prelims or all in the finals. And what shocked me the most was how calm you looked. Now, I don't know if it was all a facade or if you really reached that moment where you were like, say, trusting in your training and you knew you were ready. But to me, it just shocked me how calm you looked.
Yeah, I mean, going into that tournament, I wanted to break the world record. We have this saying that you can't win a Worlds on the first round. You can lose a Worlds on the first round. Now, with overall, you can win on the first round. But you may not get a second round. If you don't get a second round, you can lose. And I didn't get a second round in slalom. And that, I knew in the back of my head that I only had and that was the first event, slalom. So I had trick and jump, and I had to go out and break the record in those next two events. I only had one attempt. Had no backup, no safety, but I also had to make final.
Right.
So I was stressing a little bit, but you keep that inside, and you trust your process. Again, I got a great support crew, and they kept me pretty calm. And I think it comes back to just being a kid, being in the lake, John shouting at me and screaming at me and putting so much pressure on me that it's like, you're not afraid to fail. You're afraid to not succeed giving it 100%. Like, this is my plan. I'm going to go out and I'm going to stick to it. And if it doesn't work, I didn't mess up today. I messed up 3 months ago when I made my plan.
Right.
And the worst case scenario is I lose, but I live another day. And if I lose, I've got so much more out of losing than I have winning.
Got it.
I know if I'd lost next year, probably would ski better than I will this year. Or knowing how I've skied at Worlds, if I'd lost next year, it would have been dangerous. But because I've won, I'm not going as hard right now. Maybe it will be as good. We'll see. But losing was the worst case scenario, and it's also kind of the best case scenario. So that's kind of how I keep calm, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very effective approach, honestly. Now, into the specifics. I mean, you were in the runoff for the final at the Worlds, right? In slalom. Yeah. And were you last off the dock, one before last?
For the runoff, I was last off.
Yeah.
It's
how was that? Because I mean, what was it? Dane first off the dock, 1 and 9.
Yeah. So I stood on the bank, and I'm getting myself into that place where it's like, okay, you got to go for this. You got to really find something deep inside you and go for this. Because in the prelims, it was going for it, but it was going 90% because I'm not going to try and kill myself to get around a buoy. I've got a few other events, and that's where I messed up because I didn't throw myself around 3. But a pretty good 2. I could have gone around 3 if I committed. But I was like, no, get 2. We'll deal with it in the runoff. Yeah. Well, I'm in the runoff. The first guy goes out. He gets 1 at 9. It's Dane. And I'm watching Sasha on the dock, and I'm looking at him it was like a lion kind of stalking his prey. And I'm looking at him, and I said, whatever he does, I'm going to beat him. And I watched him ski, and he got 2. It's 3 is what I'm getting. All right. We'll see what John does. It's his home site, but I will beat this person right here. Right. And then John's next, and he puts his stuff on, and I'm watching him get ready, and the same thing, I'm looking at him like a lion kind of stalking his prey. Right. Didn't blink, going back and forth, getting pretty riled up inside, and he went out, I think he got 3.5. Yep. And at this point, the sun's getting kind of low, there's a bit of sun glare, it's getting a little darker. I've not skied for a few hours at this point. But in my mind, I'm like, I've got this. I'm gonna do this. There was no doubt in my mind that I was getting to 4. And I went out on 39. There was a bit of sun glare on 2.4, but I'm kind of used to it from growing up skiing in the evenings in England, so that was like no worries, and it was actually a really, really good 39.
I
Like
remember.
better than my prelims. I was like, oh yeah. And we dropped in, and I'm still like, I didn't say a word. Like normally I talk to the driver, I didn't say a word. I'm pretty in my zone. And as we come back, I got a really good one, not too bad of a 2. And as I'm coming into 3, I just went like as hard as I possibly could. And completely messed it up. It was gutting.
Hello.
But that's how it goes sometimes. Oh, hello.
Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, did I lose you?
Yeah. Just at the worst moment, man.
Oh.
So you're coming into 3?
Oh, I'm coming into 3, and I did the biggest turn I could have ever done. Like, I go back and watch the video, and the line's like behind me at the buoy, and I'm already in a lean position. It's like underwater, and then I took the hit, and like there's no way I was getting to 4.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm so like mad at myself, but I'm sitting there going, this was the first event, and like you're against Dane, John, Sasha, and you just missed out. Like you just missed out, and I'm like, and you know what? Like you got 2, and Dorian's my aim. He's got 5.5, so I'm like, you're already ahead.
5.5
like,
at 10.7.
Yeah, so I'm like, you're in a good place.
Yeah,
and,
solid start. Yeah.
I wasn't too upset with it. If anything, I was more like, that's it. That's how I'm skiing from now on. I'm skiing like a lion. I'm not sitting there like a little baby going, oh, I don't want to do this, and going 90%. Like I'm going 110. Yeah. I'm going 110 every event. And from that point on, I went 110 pretty much every event. Like I think the only thing I really messed up was my first jump in the prelims. I went like 62.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so early. And then after that, I went like 68 and then 69. It's like perfect.
Now, question, because one of the things that I found interesting, and I talked about it with Trent in our episode last week, was the men's tricks, right? Mm-hmm. So it was 10.580 or 10.590, the cut for the final. That means that 12 skiers skied that or more, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then in the final, I think it was Jake with 10.4 was third.
Yeah.
Give me your sense about that, because I remember talking to Corey about this after the final, and he basically said, this is tricks, it's normal. But to me, it made little sense at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I blame Pato Font for being too good.
Okay.
Because everyone went out there wanting to win. Every single person in that final wanted to win. And there was maybe a few, like Jake, that were sensible and went, no, like, we'll just stand up and we'll get the points we need and we'll be happy with what we trick. We won't go out there trying to do an insane run. Mm-hmm. And I'm guilty of that too, because I didn't look at a single score. I just went out thinking I had to trick 12,000 points to win.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case. Big mistake. Like, I messed up there. Out on that Worlds, that is the one thing I really regret, is I was trying to trick 12,000. And in my head, I was going to do ski line 7 at the end of it. And as I came into ski lines, I did my first ski line 5 and rushed it because I had to get ski line 7 in time. I messed up. I think every other person did that as well. Everyone went into that except Dorian. Dorian knew he had to score more points. He didn't have to win trick. Mm-hmm. And that really paid off for him.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Pato, but like, everyone's a human being at some point. We make mistakes and we mess up, and I guess on that day Pato messed up and Dorian made the right call. Get more points. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, because I think you get into that you like, I think at the finals, just by an outside observer, you can fall into those two traps. Either, I need to do 12, or, which is understandable. It's the finals at the Worlds. The worst score of those people in was 10.590. Yeah. Go full gas and try to win. And that, for the majority of people, didn't pay off. But I also think how when you start seeing 1 falling and 2 falling and 3 falling, then you might go, okay, still big run, but stay conservative, stay easy, and it doesn't work when you go for a big run.
Well,
So
I think on my side, at least from my view, the dumbest thing I did in that tournament was not watch anyone else trick. And it's because I didn't want to know what Dorian tricked, because if he had really upped his score, he could have then overtaken me in overall.
Correct.
So he had jumped further. And I had a lot of points on him in trick, but if he had tricked more than me, which he's capable of, it shut the gap. And I freaked out about that, and my only thought was win overall. In the back of my mind, I had to do ski line 7 to get over that 12,000 mark to win the overall. And hopefully the trick. Well,
kind of like in Canada 2 years prior, where you still thought you had to do these crazy things to win overall.
Yeah, I mean, never underestimate your never underestimate anyone, because they will shock you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And if you're not expecting it, it's going to really hurt when it comes. So I'm always kind of expecting someone to just go out there and one-up me, and I'm going to have to do something insane to make up for it. But yeah, I mean, coming into that event, I really regret not watching anyone else ski. I don't regret what I decided to do and how I fell, because I fell with my plan in mind of going for ski line 7, and I messed up, and it was just like, it happens. If I hadn't have gone for ski line 7, I probably would have stood up that run. I might have had 2 gold medals that tournament, but
yeah,
it was a big learning point for me.
Yeah, which that's the other thing that surprised me. Like, I remember you sort of messed up ski line 5, and by the way, you for some reason 3 or 4 skiers that tournament, like ski line 5 back, first ski lines after Philip's fall.
Yeah.
But but I remember you sort of like pretty unfazed, like, oh, all right, took your ski and went back up. I didn't see, like, the reactions that I saw in the other skiers, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, I stayed pretty calm about it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember messing up, and I remember thinking, oh, one sec, my dog's just scratching at my door.
No problem.
You take the dog. This way. Out you go. You can edit that part out, right?
Oh, no, we're keeping it in. What's your dog's name?
Reggie.
Reggie?
Yeah, he's a rescue from Spain.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
there you
he's
go.
Real cute. Where was I?
We were at, like, you fall at finals at Worlds, not too big of a reaction.
Yeah,
possibly because you had a plan, you tried, and like kind of like the John Battle Days rule. You tried 100%, you had a plan, didn't happen.
At that point, I could have smashed my ski. I could have completely just destroyed it. If Dorian had tricked more points than me, would have been a very different deal. But at that point, I don't know what he's tricked, so I'm walking back. I'm trying to stay calm. I mean, there's loads of people on the bank, so you can't make a big scene in front of them and let anyone see that it's affected you. Mm-hmm. So, you just kind of keep it inside, keep your head up, put a smile on and deal with it. And yeah, when I got back, I saw Dorian score. It cut deep because I know he's now upped his score by like 600 or 700 points. It's going to be pretty tight coming into jump final.
And you guys are like like the top 2 seeds into the jump finals.
Yeah,
that was
me
awesome.
than him. I'm so glad it wasn't him. I did not envy him being the last guy out. That would have been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely cut deep. But it was one of those, it won't happen again kind of thing. I will make a better decision next time, and I'm glad that I've learned that now.
Yep. And so so that's interesting. You walked back after falling in tricks and you still didn't know anyone's score.
No.
Which is crazy because you were one before last of the dock, right? I think after you was only Pato.
Yeah, I just didn't want to know scores. I didn't want to know. I just wanted to go out and go with my plan and do what I had to do. Because in my head, Pato's tricking 11-2. I'm tricking 11-4. Or he's tricking 12-2. I'm tricking 12-4. That was my plan.
Right.
And yeah, it's not how it went that day.
Okay, so that's the end of tricks final. There's jump final shortly after.
Yep.
Were you still ahead into jumps final?
Yeah, I'm still ahead in overall. I think he had to jump an extra like 2.5 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Or an extra 2 meters. But then the
Which
scores
hard
changed.
but doable, right?
Hard but doable. But then the scores changed again because oh no, don't worry. The scores didn't change. They changed a little bit because Ryan jumped further. I remember panicking about that, but that was all fine. But yeah, I knew
Right.
he had to jump far, and at that point, he had a pretty good headwind. It was the perfect day for it. He's the last guy off the dock. I mean, at that point, you're either gonna go huge or you're gonna mess up.
Right.
And I'm expecting him to go huge. And that
Fair.
was. I remember I went out before him, and on my first one, I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know any distances for jump because like in jump, I never want to know the distance. You can only do what you can do. Or at least last time I knew the distance, I went out the front.
Okay. Was that this summer?
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, just didn't want to know scores. Again, I don't know why. Next time I'm going to want to know scores, but this time I didn't want to know.
Right.
And yeah, I went out, I jumped like 69.5, I think, on my first one. And it didn't register. Like, I did it, I came back, I saw the scoreboard, I was like,
all right.
Shaking my head, like, cool. And then I
Okay.
I came back for the second jump, and it was less, and I knew it was a little less because I slipped, but like as I landed, I was like, man, I hope that's more than 69.5, like as I'm coming down to land, and it registered, and I did like a huge roar. It's like, I went 69.5, like,
You registered after you landed the second jump.
Like as I landed my second jump, it registered how far my first one was, so I let out a roar. It was like a minute later for the first one.
Right.
It was actually not as far, so I looked kind of silly. I think it was like 69.3, so it's still a pretty big jump. And yeah, then coming into my third one, I was like convinced I was going to go 70 meters. And every time you're convinced you're going to go 70 meters, you don't go 70 meters because you go too hard. And I did that, and it was a little bit less. I think it was 69.1.
Mm-hmm. Wow, but I remember it was pretty solid, consistent jump set.
Biggest jump set of my life.
Ah, well, perfect.
Yeah, like
now, question, because obviously you got second at Masters this year in jump.
Mm-hmm.
You qualified for Jump Masters at the first LCQ. Like, I mean, this year you've been jumping far. So I guess my question is, into the jump finals at Worlds, is your mind just on overall or jumping as well? Like, what was your focus, I guess?
I went back and forth actually the night before about that in my head. I was laying in bed. I remember going back and forth about it. And I decided before I went to sleep that tomorrow we don't go to win trick. We don't go to win jump. We're going to do what we can to go as far as we can. And if we do, we win. But we go for overall.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to ski what we can ski. And yeah, like for jump, I had no idea how far Ryan went or how far Freddie went, but I knew after Ryan jumped that he went over 70 meters. I mean, you could see him go up, and I was like, that's huge. I thought it was actually further because it looked huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, like coming into that sort of jump set, it was just a matter of do what you can do, get your technique right. And in hindsight, I definitely overdid it. I went a bit too hard. Like kind of out of my turn. I was going as hard as I could, trying to go as far as I could. And the way I jump, it's go as hard as you can into the ramp.
Right.
And it worked. I mean, I still managed to go pretty hard into the ramp, but I do kick myself. I could have gone further. I think you always think that after a set, but
yeah, of course. And especially if you're a proper jumper. Like, I think that's generally the mode of thinking, you know, like, if I only did, or if you know, I know exactly that. I mean, I was never a jumper at your level, but I know how you guys
understand
think,
the mindset. Yeah.
I understand the mindset. Never experienced it on my own, but I understand it. All right, and so few minutes after that, very solid 69 plus jump set, you're world champ.
Yeah, I mean, for those few minutes after, it was some of the worst moments of my life because I'm sitting there thinking Dorian's going to beat me. I'm thinking he's going to go further. He's going to beat me. Is he going to beat me? I don't know. And the first jump's not huge, and the second jump's not huge, and I think he passed from his third.
I can't remember.
And yeah, I mean, like it really did not feel real. It just was like ridiculous. I couldn't get over like the feeling of like, oh my God, I'm not like asleep. I'm like hitting myself in the face a little bit. Like this is real. I'm not asleep. And my dad was there, and like that was a really big moment for me. Like having him there with me, like when Dorian didn't jump what he had to in that last jump, like went straight to my dad, and we had like a big hug. And then I saw Matt and saw Cole, and yeah, like it was a really big moment for me.
Yeah. Walk us through what was going on in your head. First minute, first 10 minutes, first hour.
I mean, I just didn't stop smiling. I was pretty happy about it. I was pretty excited, and like I just didn't know what to do because like all my life this is what I've been dreaming of, and it's finally happened, and I'm like, this is real. And I keep and everyone's coming up to me and saying like, well done. And then like honestly in the moment it just really didn't feel real. And even for like a few weeks it didn't feel real. It's only really started to settle in since I've stopped skiing.
Mm-hmm.
Like after Miami Pro, I stopped skiing, I put my skis down, and then it started kicking in. And like more so maybe the last week, it's really started becoming real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember that night at the banquet. I mean, normally you have a huge party and everyone gets pretty drunk, but like I was exhausted.
Right.
I was sitting at that table, and I'm just completely out of my mind, like blank face, like not even thinking, just like, oh,
right,
finally
done.
It's over.
Right, done.
Yeah.
And then you go on that podium and you start singing God Save the Queen.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember it.
Oh yeah, I'll describe it for you. So they call second place Dorian, first place Joel. The national anthem starts. You sing, I kind of composed,
Yeah.
And then there's the table with all the Brits, like they're singing someone more louder than others, and then the loudest of them all, just behind the table, is Nick Parsons, who was singing the national anthem out of his throat, And it was awesome. Like with so much pride, like
That's
as if he
amazing.
was from, 2
I
blocks away
about
from
that
you.
yet. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so there was Will and Freddie and everyone was there, and then in the back, Yeti just going, happy
singing it out
and glorious. It was awesome. It was great.
What a legend.
Oh man, no, that was an insane tournament. Overall, I mean, obviously you being one of the shining stars there. What else? Because I know it's hard to pay attention to everything else that's going on in the moment. But if you think back, what are some of the things that impressed you at those Worlds beyond your skiing?
Yeah, I didn't watch a load. I think Whitney's crash was definitely a big highlight for me. I thought that was like the nastiest crash I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That I still have it literally in my head. Like it was yesterday when Ryan, that huge jump, I think it was like 70.9. That sticks in my head really strong. Like seeing him come off the ramp and just like
just
took off. I mean, that really stuck in my head. But honestly, I think one of my favorite parts was watching Will actually in the final. Because he had a runoff, and then he had another runoff, and he got like 4 or 5, I think. Yeah. And like that really stuck with me. Like seeing him go out there, and like I found that really impressive to see him go out there and do that with that like immense amount of pressure. I think Brian went first, Brian Detrick, and he got 4, or it might have been 5. I think it was 5.
Yeah, he got 5, and then Will 5. Yeah,
and then Will got 5 after that, and it was just like Like even now when I think about it, I get some chills because that was really impressive, and I think that was one of the most impressive parts of that tournament for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting out of 3 again, because then in the second round of Brian got 3, and then Will just got out of 3 and managed to pull to 4 and got the 3rd spot. And I was saying to Trent last week, Brian skied 3 in the prelim,
Yeah.
3 in the final, to then do 5 in the runoff, and then 3 in the second runoff, and didn't come home with any medal. That's insane.
That's really rough.
It's rough.
He got a rough run at that. He got a really rough run. I felt bad for the guy, but you know, got to support the Brits.
No, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but if I was him, I would be pretty upset. I'd be pretty mad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be too mad about it because, you know, it is what it is, but I'm sure he was not happy.
Yeah, it's a lot of big scores, you know. It's a lot of big scores not to come home with some type of medal.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think there's a few questions I have. Well, the first one is the social media, okay? And I'll ask you why, because I got home last year and I started coaching at our ski school, and we have a lot of kids from all around Europe. And all they seem to be paying attention to is your social media, and what you do on your trick sets, and they try to attempt it in their trick set as well, which I encourage, obviously, until they go a little bit beyond their skill and they just eat it, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess the first question I have is how did it sort of arise to you that, you know, you wanted to put your stuff out there, you know, like?
I mean, I've always kind of like posted on social media a little bit. Like I remember first time I landed Mob 5.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I think around 16 or 17. It was front flip back to back, the half jack back to back. First time I landed that, I tagged Ace, Alexei, and Sledge in it, and I said, "Tag, you're it." Cocky little 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid, and I thought I was so cool. And like that was kind of like the beginning of when I started getting on social media. I've always kind of liked making videos and listened to a lot of music. And yeah, I mean, I just saw some videos of like wakeboarders actually kind of just posting a bunch of stuff, but posting a bunch of content. It's like, that looks fun. I mean, I kind of do all that stuff, and I just started videoing sort of the normal things I do, and people seem to like it. Gained like 12,000 followers like this year. It's like pretty awesome. But I mean, honestly, it was just I video everything anyway so I can watch it.
Right.
So I just started putting some music to it and posting it up there.
Posting it out there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's had a lot of, like, to me, it's had a huge effect. It's funny how sometimes it's just like an idea, okay, I'm already doing these things, might as well put them up. But I mean, you know, things like the Water Ski Nation trick contest during the pandemic, you know, like things of those nature wouldn't have, I don't know that they would have even been conceived if there wasn't, you know, someone who was posting his random sets, you know, like his back foot sliders and some air railie and then a huge mob and, you know, followed by hopping on the wakes, but not really jumping the wakes, just hopping before and clearing them. You know, like the stuff you normally do.
The fun, creative stuff.
Yeah, which I think was missing, you know, in tricks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's always what trick has been about for me. Like I say this a lot, that I stopped tricking for points a long time ago. Because if I go out there going, I need to trick more points, I hate it. Like it kills me. I go out there to trick and to have fun, and I see so many kids doing it. They're going out on their trick ski, and like they don't have that originality and that fun. And you know, I think you're never gonna be better than the person before you if you're just copying them, like scripted.
Yeah,
you have to kind of take your own way to it. And if you look at even Pato, he's taken his own way to tricking in how fast he is.
Yeah.
Like he's ridiculously fast. He's put his own kind of spin on something that exists. He didn't just go, okay, I'm going to do the same run with a bigger trick. he changed the game and made you go quicker. Now everyone's trying to go quicker.
Yep.
Well, I'm never going to beat him if I go as quick. So I need to do bigger tricks and go as quick. And that's kind of like where it begins, but it's, it comes back to having fun, being a kid, going out and running the slalom course.
Cable,
and just getting comfortable in your trick ski. Like, I think anytime you're on the water and you're skiing, no matter what you're doing, it's going to help the other events. It's going to help your balance and your coordination, and it's kind of what it's about for me.
Which is kind of connected to what I don't want to say it's a rhetorical question, but more so than a message to the kids that watch you. I'd be interested to see what you would say to the normal parent, parent all around the world has some kid in their teens, they ski, they like overall. Any advice? Because, obviously, I think one of the upfront differences between someone who's a slalom skier and overall skier is just the sheer amount of skiing and sets and time at the lake. That's the first big difference between someone who's pursuing overall, someone who's pursuing one event. So any advice, anything you want to say to those parents?
I've seen the error 1,000 times of so many kids where they only do 2 sets a day. And if you want to do overall, if you want to do all 3 events, you need to do 4 minimum every day. Like, even if it's 3 sets, but that trick set is a long trick set and you're doing hands and toes, every day you've got to do that, but you need to keep it fun. So I think what you need to ski a lot. It's a lot of hours skiing. You need a good coach and a consistent coach. So you've got some consistency, you're skiing with the same person, and you have a plan together. And if you've got 2 coaches, one in your country and, one in a warmer climate, you stick to those 2. You don't go to 10 different people, because they're all, you start getting some crazy sandwiches getting made there,
Right.
You've got to have consistency in your coaching. And then as a parent, stay the hell out of it. Leave it to the kid, leave it to the coach. When they come home, they don't need another coach telling them this and that. You got to trust the coach, and the coach can bring you in and tell you what you need to do, but don't become the parent that's overbearing and in control and is so in control that their kid doesn't have the freedom. Because that's the thing my parents were best at. They leave it to the coach because he knows what he's doing and he's a professional. And if he wants to shout at my kid, I guess I'm going to kind of let him shout at my kid. Maybe when the kid's not looking, I'm going to be like, hey, take it a little easy.
Right.
But they never undermined the coach. It was always, he's in charge, you listen to him. And they never took that authority away from the coach.
Which, I think beyond performance, I think if your objective is performance, wins, records, that's a super good strategy. Let the coach do the work. But I guess even more so to just make sure the kid stays in the sport, right? I just seen so many times the mistake being in overbearing parents, you know? And then the skier, I'm sure you've seen them too, amazing skiers, like super talented, great skiers that for one reason or another, generally, connected to pressure that shouldn't have been there from the people that shouldn't have applied it.
Yep.
Kind of we lose them.
You see it a lot. You see it with a lot of good skiers. And I think it's hard if you're a coach and parent. I have no idea about that because I didn't have to deal with that. But in terms of if you're not a coach, don't try and be one. Right. Leave that to the coach, because you're going to push your kid too hard and he's going to hate it. You can push them, at the lake, but when they come home, it doesn't matter anymore. They're still like a kid, they're still a human being, and you got to acknowledge that side of them as well.
Yeah. I think it's, for us that we're European, I think that the classic example is the football parent on the bleachers at a under-8 football game, where they're all coaches now.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. I think it's good to have your parents heavily involved and support you, but you got to trust your kid, and if they don't want to ski, they don't want to ski. if you get them around the right environment, maybe with some kids, and it's a bit more fun for them, they'll enjoy that side, and maybe that'll bring them into the skiing. And I think you'll find that if you're going somewhere with a coach and you're leaving it to the coach a little more, most coaches that have a few kids, they try and set them up to ski together.
Yeah.
They try and make it a bit more fun for them, because, you know, I'm in this sport because of the friends. Like, I love skiing, but I love the people I met in this sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what kept you in. And then, of course, you're crazy motivated, and you want, you know, you want to be the best in the world. Clearly, you've always had that clear in your mind. But certainly, the friends and the environment is what got, like, kept you in and keeps you in. So, I guess, what do you see, going back to the social media? I think, and I've talked about it with Marcus a lot, I think in the last, say, 3 to 4 years, basically we lost Waterski Mag.
Yeah.
But then all this other content started to arise, you know, podcasts, videos, webcasts, you know. And then I think also skiers on social media started to become more active, you know, like more involved. I guess, what trends do you see? What do you see could be done better? Like, curious to hear your opinion.
I think 2 years ago there was like no social media for skiing.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an issue. And I did notice that kind of the start of this year when I started posting. No one else was really posting stuff about skiing, like, ever. Like odd post at the lake and them running a pass, super zoomed out, no music. Like, it wasn't easy to watch. And yeah, I just kind of started making it a bit easier to watch. I'm just copying sort of what everyone else is doing in every other sport, where you get a different angle and a good song, and it kind of just does it for itself. But I think the best thing we can do as skiers and like as athletes in general is promote it as much as we possibly can on social media, because it's the way everything's moving. I mean, the average person's spending like upwards of 3 or 4 hours on their phone a day. Some people are spending like upwards of 10 on their phone a day. You know, if you post enough stuff out there, they will see it. And if there's enough content out there, it's going to grow the sport as a whole. It's not about getting a piece of the pie. It's like the pie getting bigger. And the way we can do that is by social media, growing water skiing on there. And I think like Pro Water Ski Tour, starting the Instagram page, like, that's amazing. I think that's so good. Water Ski Nation, like, we've got these sites, and like even Water Ski Fails, like I've followed them. Like, we've actually got Instagram pages. I mean, I know I was riffing pretty hard on Hell Yeah Water Ski memes, but like, I think it's great that we have meme pages and keeping you up to date in pro skiing and crashes and fun stuff. Like, there's so many out there, even Ball of Spray. Like, I think that is so good, and the more of that we can get, the better it's going to be. The bigger the pie is going to get for everyone. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess that's exactly where I think we started to get to 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Like, at a stage where, like, say, any content that arises about water skiing, please, like, let's go, you know. Yeah. But then people like, I guess, Marcus or Vino with the TWBC, they sort of upped the scale and said, okay, now good content is good content, right? Yeah. Or like, say, what you're doing with social media, like, it's not enough to put a GoPro on a ski dock and run 10.7 and post it. It's like, it's got to be looking good, and it's got to have some type of creative flavor to it. Yeah, maybe that's the next step, you know, like, everyone try to step up their game in terms of social media.
100%, like, putting your own spin on it. I mean, like, you can get paid from being on Instagram as well now. Like, you can actually, that can be part of your job. And you're pretty, like, most skiers are doing it anyway. They're filming their sets. They've got someone in the boat filming it. If it's on the GoPro, it's not as good. But, like, hey, film it on your GoPro, make a YouTube channel, talk to your camera first. People aren't going to care as much about the skiing if you're getting involved on, like, a personal level as well. Because people like they like to support people, you know?
Yep.
That's what sport's about. We want to get behind someone and cheer for them, but they want to know that person first. Social media is perfect for that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's that was really the intuition we had last year with Water Ski Pro Tour. Sort of like, okay, there's a lot of great things going on in cash prize tournaments. Let's just try to make sure they're easy to follow and easy to learn the athletes.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I believed in it, but I'm surprised of how well it worked. You know,
I think we're at the beginning of it as well. I think the next few years, I really hope they keep moving the way they've been moving.
Yeah.
Because like this year, if anybody followed the Pro Water Ski Tour and they watched all the tournaments, like I think there was only 2 tournaments this year that had like a bad webcast, and everyone else used the Water Ski Broadcast Company, and it was like it's like watching Formula One or golf. You know, like you could actually put that on your TV and be interested and watch it. It was engaging.
Yeah.
And that has been. Forget about how many tournaments we had this year. Forget about what the scores were this year. That in itself is so huge for us.
Oh, huge, humongous.
It's so huge for us.
I mean, it's funny. I know a few wakeboarders, and they watched some of the TWBC broadcast, and they said, "We don't have that. We need that." You know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the intuitions that these guys are having is there are some sports that might not be on TV, which might be anachronistic by now, but say the World Surfing League, it's all webcasted, but they have hundreds of thousands of people watching. So the medium works. You know, if you want to gain attention on the sport, the medium really works well.
100%. And I don't think we need to be aiming for TV. Who watches TV anymore?
I don't know.
Like
I put the TWC on my TV. You know?
Yeah, like you go on YouTube and you find what you want to watch and you click play. You don't normally go on your TV and see what's on.
Yeah,
you choose
exactly.
what you go on Netflix, go on Hulu, go on YouTube, go on Instagram. Like you want to see something, you go and see it. You choose it.
Correct.
And there's so many more people that are going to watch a YouTube video being streamed live than on TV. Because on TV, you got to be sitting down watching it at that time. On YouTube, you can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, I mean, that seems such a, like, ages ago that you had to find the time and watch it, you know? Like, it's just but it's so recent, you know?
And that's the way we're moving. And we are on board with that right now. And, like, that's so huge for us. I'm so excited for the next few, like, I think the next 3 years, I see in the next 3 years being, like, huge change to what we saw 2 years ago. Already huge change, but...
I can't wait. I mean, anything
to
grow the sport. That's what I'm about. That's why I started this thing 2 years ago. That's, you know, it's fun, but it's also like, because I think it can grow the sport, and any indication that I have of it, that makes me happy.
Exactly. And it's working.
You know? Well, thank you. We can all do our parts, I guess.
Yeah, I love what you're doing.
Look, random question. So slalom world record, tricks world record, jump world record, men.
Yeah.
Which one will go down first?
I'm glad you said first. Trick. So 12.7 Alexei, right? 12.560?
12.560.
Yeah. So I got the run. It exists. It's a big run. It's not any room for error. It does exist. I'm sure by the time I get around to doing that run, Pato will take that record because he's pretty close and he's got the run. But my initial aim is 12,000 points, jump 230, and run 41.
Yeah.
And we do that, and then whichever one looks like a record first, we go for, and then we go for the next one. And I think it will have to be trick first, because I'll have to quit trick to get the slalom.
So you know what's great? I asked you which record would go down first. You started thinking which record is likely that you'll beat first.
Yeah. Oh.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, to me, you know, as I said, I didn't know you that much before this chat, but the answer to this question encapsulates you. The last 2.5 hours we spent together.
Yeah.
Look, I I think this is a perfect way to end it, and I always leave room to, props, thanks. This is your time for a bit of gratitude. So
Yeah. Well,
your
of course,
shout-outs.
one group of people I'd like to thank a lot is Radar Skis. I've been skiing with them for about 10 years now. And I mean, like any of those tricks you see me do, there's a reason I'm on a Radar. They send me a little bit higher than every other ski. And in terms of slalom skis, I mean, the slalom ski we made this year was incredible. And like I'm really looking forward to our future there with Radar. And of course, I want to thank Matt Reaney, Cole Grant, John Battleday. Like I wouldn't be anywhere I am without those guys. And finally, my parents, of course, the birth givers.
The birth givers.
Yeah.
And the hand carriers and
Yeah,
everything in between.
I would not be here if I didn't have them, of course, but I wouldn't be where I am in skiing either. I mean, both of them have been so supportive of me all the way through my life. Like even till now, my dad being at every Worlds as well. Like my mum used to drive me to the lake every single day. Yeah, like I wouldn't be where I am without them. So those three groups of people, I got to thank a lot. I owe a lot to those guys.
Sweet. And then one final question. It's a tough one, but take your time, do your best.
Yeah.
What does water skiing mean to you?
For me, it's all about having fun. It's creativity. It's about going out there and enjoying it. If I'm not enjoying it, I'm doing it wrong. So for me, water skiing has always been about doing what I like doing and having fun while doing it.
Sweet. I love it. Joel, look, this was a true pleasure. I've been waiting for a long time to interview you, and it sort of, checked all the boxes. I'm so glad we got to do this.
It's been great chatting to you, man. It's been great.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for deciding to do this, and keep at it, man. I can't wait to see when the 12K or the 41 or the 230 are broken.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, man. Thank you.